afternoon, everyone, and good afternoon, sir. My topic in this afternoon is all about the Part 3 Values and Policy Implication and Lesson 9, the Effective Teaching and Values. The learning outcomes is the purpose of this chapter is to outline the moral basis of teaching in general, and to illustrate an argument that effective teaching is underpinned by moral values, especially in relation to the nature of learning and the classroom climate. It follows that any model of differentiate teaching or teachers' effectiveness must include an analysis of the values of the school and teachers involved in teaching effectiveness, research, or appraisal. The chapter is not designed to provide a comprehensive analysis of values and education, which is far beyond its scope. Our aim is merely to illustrate the argument from a range of literature, through we are conscious that different sources could have been chosen. And the effective teaching of values is the values we identify with effective learning are deliberately selective. This is because it would be arrogant for us to pretend to identify a comprehensive set of values across culture and time, and because the values underlying a particular approach to effectiveness has preferable and be identified by the teachers and the schools. That is to say, the values dimension in teacher effectiveness is the area and most appropriately involving the self-evaluation at the end of the lesson. The moral framework of teaching. There is a consensus in the classic of sociology literature that the processes of education are supposed with the values and moral purpose. There are two broad and related analytical positions within this consensus, referring to the social functions of schooling at the personal and professional values expected of teachers, and also the social function of schooling following the French sociologist and philosopher by Emile Durkheim in 1925. The education system function for society is an apparatus for the formation, the reproduction, or the reinforcement of moral identity and moral order. For Durkheim, society was certain intellectual and moral framework. Then, distinctive of the entire group, society is about all the shared consciousness, and it is therefore this collective consciousness that must be imparted to the child's the site in Durkheim 1961. The rule of social institution such as family and the school was therefore one of moral socialization. It followed that Durkheim saw apparently the technical matter of the rules and routine of school and classroom life, the discipline of the school. Then first is the personal and professional values of teachers. The second position is the teachers, by virtue of their professional responsibilities, are expected to embody in their personal life, a society's or a community's, the moral ideals. And then we draw here upon the analysis by the American educational sociologist by Willard Waller in 1932. The teacher is supposed to represent the certain ideals in the community. These ideals differ somewhat from one community to another, but there is an underlying similarity. The next is the values and effective teaching, meaning the core of teaching consists of 4 basic values: the dignity, the truthfulness, the fairness and responsibility and freedom. All teaching is founded on ethics, whether it be the teacher-student relationship, pluralism, a teacher's relationship with their work. Dignity means respect for humanity. The next part is the values and differentiate teacher effectiveness, which mean the values we identify serve to illustrate the argument. We have selected 2 areas of focus of values analysis in classroom effectiveness: the concept of learning, what counts of worthwhile achievement or learning; the classroom climate, including the nature of teacher-pupil relationship. We treat this separately for the purpose of analysis, but it is obvious that they are interrelated. We have chosen independent learning and inclusiveness as illustrative exemplars of values in relation to learning and classroom climate, respectively, because they reflect differentiation, but they are obviously not the only values that might be used. And also, informed by the values of both student and teachers, see Adult Journal Duterte 2010, Brophy and Good 1974. Then the next is desirable teacher values that inform teachers the danger in deriving an ideal set of teaching values for effective teaching include the tendency to confuse the personality with character. That's include the values and personal values with professional values. Effectiveness and learning, the value of independent learning, which means independent learning is often linked with others. Approaches to learning such as personalization, student-centered learning, and ownership of learning. Discussion of independent learning frequently arise in the context of important issues such as student-teacher rules and relationship, and the role of information and communication technology. Effectiveness and classroom climate, the value of inclusiveness, which means classroom climate refers to the prevailing mood, attitude, standard, and tones that you and your student feel when they are in your classroom. A negative classroom climate can feel hostile, chaotic, and out of control. Then, a positive classroom climate feels safe, respectful, welcoming, and supportive of student learning. And the values outside the classroom, which mean teaching and learning outside the classroom. It is the personal values, alternative pedagogies, and standard, and so wait. Faculty of the Education, University of the Plymouth and Plymouth, UK received in June 18, 2008, accepted by July 24, 2009. The articles reports on the recent survey of 334 settings in a country in the Southwest. The next is the incorporating values into a model of differentiate teacher effectiveness. There are 5 problems with current concept of teacher effectiveness are identified. The undue influence of available techniques upon the concept, emphasis on schools, to the detriment of teacher, the effectiveness, the tenuous relationship to teacher improvement, the narrowness of operational definitions in research, and the development of generic rather than differentiate models. There is strong evidence that good quality learning outside the classroom add much value to classroom learning, and it can lead to a deeper understanding of the concept that span traditional subject boundaries and which are frequently difficult to teach effectively using classroom methods alone. Then, people who learn on their own outside of the classroom might find it disadvantageous and more challenging for several reasons. First, it is not person nearby, the teacher, who can immediately answer the question that invariably crop up when learning something new. Secondly, many people learn better when they can bounce ideas and understanding up concept of another person who is peer. Additionally, there could be a drop in drive or loss of focus as there is no one there to be the task master to keep the student focused on the objective. Finally, the self-learners could be subjected to a lack of direction as to what to study first would be up to them. I learned that the teacher effectiveness research has tended to neglect the analysis of values in two senses. First is the general values associated with the process of education, and the more specific values underlying effective teaching. The possibilities for reconceptualizing teacher effectiveness by incorporating a values dimension are illustrated through two examples: effectiveness in developing independent learning and effectiveness in achieving a classroom climate characterized by inclusiveness, and the potential contribution to teacher effectiveness outside as well as inside the classroom is explored through a discussion of the strengths and problems inhering in the English government's adoption of the Hay-Macber model of teacher. Then effectiveness for the assessment of teacher performance, the contribution of teacher, the self-evaluation to the process of the identification of values underlying effectiveness is discussed. And that is the end of my topic. This is Jainor P. Ranain from BSED English Block 2.